Go. Great. All right, I think we have everything going at this point. All right, and again, if you can please help me in saying welcome to our friends from the Financial Wellness Office. Last we met in person. That's in 2020, the last academy that we actually had in person. So having them back feels like we're on the right track to just being back in person, just doing all of this work on campus, and I can't wait for all of you to just come and visit us on campus. We're hoping that by the next few months, maybe you'll come and join us during a tour or just come and visit us. So this is definitely welcome, and I'm again just very grateful that they're able to join us today. I'm going to have them introduce themselves, and please enjoy the presentation. So I'm not sure. Should I have? Yeah, you all have access. Okay, great.
Yeah, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction of our program and that very warm welcome. We are very happy to be here today and present on budgeting while you're in undergrad school. Like it was already said, we are from the Financial Wellness Program. I'm Sanjali. I work as a graduate consultant in the Financial Wellness Program. And apart from that, I'm actually in the graduate school. So I'm doing my PhD in the School of Public Health at UCLA. I'm going to let Beljani and Metzli introduce themselves, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about our program before getting into our presentation. So Beljani, you want to go first?
Thank you, Sanjali. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. My name is Beljani Molina. I'm the program coordinator for financial wellness, and I'm so excited to bring this topic to you all. Like Santi said, financial wellness, we don't really, make the direct connection that it really impacts our overall individual wellness. So it's definitely good information to take with you today, and I hope you all learned something new. And I'll pass it to Metzli.
Hi, everyone. My name is Metzli. I'm an undergrad. I'm in my 4th year, so I'll be graduating this spring, majoring in public affairs. And I also work for the Financial Wellness Program as the programming lead. So like they both already shared, super excited to be here with you all and share space, and looking forward for all of us to learn something new today. I'll pass it back.
Awesome. So Beljani, if you could put a link to our website on the chat, that'd be great. So what we do in the program, we offer 3 main services. So we had the first thing that we do is that we hold one-on-one coaching sessions with students. So, students can come in and we can talk to them about various financial topics. And these range from budgeting, we talk about loans, we talk about investing, and then also maintaining a healthy credit score. If you're maybe struggling with paying off your debt and you want some help in trying to figure out, what strategies to use, or just want some more information, we can help provide you some helpful guidance. And so that's the one thing that we do, one-on-one coaching sessions with students. The second service that we offer is we hold workshops just like these. So any department on campus, any student organization, they can reach out to us, and we have a whole portfolio of workshops on various different financial topics. So they can request us to present on any of those. And then the third service we provide is that we have an online financial wellness education module on our website. Sorry, and Beljani put the link of the website on the chat. You can just Google if you're watching on on YouTube. You can just Google UCLA Financial Wellness Program and it should come up. So yeah, like I was saying, we have an online education module, and you can find brief chapters, like 5, and these will take you anywhere around 5 to 10 minutes to go through, and they cover various different financial topics. So, and you can also create a personalized list based on your particular financial situation. So that's a helpful resource that we provide. With that, I will get into the presentation. So let me share my screen. Okay, hopefully all of you can see that. Can I get a thumbs up? Okay, awesome. So yeah, we are going to be talking about budgeting today. And can I just make sure that you're only seeing the slides and not my notes? Okay, awesome. Right, so a couple of things that we need to understand before you can actually create a budget for yourself. So the first thing is like income versus expenses. So you want to identify all your different income streams. And we're going to, in the next slide, we're going to talk about what these different income streams look like for undergrad students. And then you, of course, want to also identify all of your expenses. And we're also going to be talking about what the expenses look like for UCLA undergrad students. And then there is, if we further break down expenses, they can be fixed versus variable. So there are some expenses that don't vary. So an example for that would be tuition fees, right? So that doesn't vary from one month to the other, whereas there are variable expenses. So that could be something like food. So how much you spend on groceries or food might change from one month to the other. And then the other thing that the slide says is that you need to track all of your spending to be able to create a budget and be able to stick to it. You really want to take the time to revisit your budget at least once or twice a month, just to say that you are being able to stick to your plan. Okay. Awesome. So these are the income streams or the various different sources of income that students use to support themselves while they are in school. The first one is financial aid. This includes loans, grants, and scholarships. So grants and scholarships are this is money that you get that you don't have to repay, whereas loans you would have to repay after school or after you graduate. Then under loans, there are subsidized loans, unsubsidized loans, and plus loans. So subsidized essentially means that the interest on the loan does not accrue while you're in school. Whereas with unsubsidized and plus loans, as soon as you get the money, as soon as it hits your bank, the interest starts accruing. And then a lot of students also work while they are in school, so they get a paycheck for that, depending on what sort of work it is. Maybe it's a bi-weekly paycheck or a monthly paycheck. And then a lot of students also get support from their family, and some students may have saved up from before they attended school, and maybe they're using some of their savings to pay for school. And then also for undocumented students, there's the Dream Loan. All right, so we looked at income. Now let's look at expenses. So these are expenses for the 2021-2022 academic year. So this is for 9 months in this particular academic year. So for students living in residence halls, This is what the expense looks like. So 36,297. And then if you're a non-resident, you have to pay an additional $29,754. And this includes various different expenses. So this would include your tuition and fees, but also an estimate of other expenses, and that so that's books and supplies, transportation, your personal expenses, health insurance, things like that. So this is just not just tuition, but all other expenses are included in this particular value. And then for students living off campus, quite similar, 36,000. And then students who are either commuting or learning remotely, it's about 20,408. So what we have done over here is essentially divided the values that you saw on the previous slide by 9, because like I said, the academic year has 9 months. So if we divide that up, you see how much you have for each particular line item in your budget. So for students living on campus, for food and rent, they have 1,862. For transportation, they have $67. Whereas for student, and I'm not going to read all of these, but just to give you an idea, students who are commuting, they have about $200 for transportation, because of course, since they'd be commuting from far, they might need to spend a little more. But this, again, these numbers are based on sort of the average of what students spend. So your particular, what your expenses look like might be different from this average. So what we want to highlight over here is that it's important to make your own budget and use that to determine how much you want to take out in loans, because your own expenses might differ from what the average expense looks like. And then there is also this provision with loans called a budget add-on. So, say you've taken out loans for the academic year, but then something comes up during the year which you were not able to account for before. So essentially, you need more money than you have taken out. So there's also this this provision, like I said, of a budget add-on, and this can cover things like airfare expenses. Maybe you need a new laptop. It can cover about up to $2,000 for that. Maybe you have medical expenses coming up, childcare expenses. You need a special equipment for the class that you're taking, and maybe need more support with housing. So if you have any unexpected expenses coming up, come up during the academic year, you can apply for a budget add-on, and you would do that by going to this website, the financial aid website, and look for this particular form which says budget increase request. Okay, next we want to provide some guidelines. So if you're paying rent in LA, we recommend that you spend about 70% of your income on expenses, on your current expenses. Spend about 20% on paying off any past debt, and 10% should go into your savings. So essentially, you would want to spread out your money in such a way that you're taking care of not just your current self, but also your past and your future self. And then if you're not paying rent, it would be divided equally. So 33, 33, 33. And then if you don't have any debt that you're paying off currently, that 20% could just get added to your savings. Essentially, you're putting 30% away into your savings. And then we want to give you 3 goals to have. But again, we also want to recognize that these may not be goals that you can accomplish while you're still in school. These are just some goals to have while you progress on your financial wellness journey. So you want to, like I said, you want to save up 30% of your income. So you want to pay off all your past debts so you can save up 30% of your income. You also want to create an emergency fund, a $1,000 emergency fund. And then you also want to have 9 months of living expenses saved. So if you need to take a break while you're in school, or even if you didn't take a break, after having graduated from school, there might be a period where you're maybe applying for a job and you haven't yet found one. That's when you can dip into this saving that you this money that you saved up. And then this is a budget sheet that we like to use. So I was talking before about how we hold these one-on-one coaching sessions. So when students come in and they want to talk about budgeting with us, we share a budget sheet that looks like this, and we sort of walk the student through their income and expenses and try to give them tips on what changes they could be making to their lifestyle. Yeah, if you want, you can definitely screenshot this, but this is being recorded, so you'll have it. I showed an Excel sheet, but an Excel sheet doesn't work for a lot of students because with an Excel sheet, you need to be more hands-on. So if you prefer a more hands-off approach, maybe a budgeting app is more suitable for you. So we want to give you some examples of budgeting apps that people like to, or like students like to use. I know Mint is very popular. Students who are trying to create maybe they're in a relationship and they're trying to create a budget with a partner might like to use Honeydew because it provides that feature. And these are other good options as well. This is just a screenshot from Mint, which I said is pretty popular. So now let's try to break down our expenses further into needs and wants. So a need is essentially pretty self-explanatory. So any expense that you absolutely anything that you absolutely spend on to survive, basically, it will be a need, whereas a want would be anything that you don't particularly need, but maybe it's something that makes you happy. So the important thing to understand is that this can look different for people. So while some expenses are non-negotiable, so for instance, food you absolutely have to spend on, there can be some expenses which might be a need for one person versus a want for another, and that's okay. The important thing is that you want to find a balance between the two. So and you want to have enough room in your budget to accommodate both. So you don't want your budget to be super restrictive so that you're only spending on needs. You also want to you also want to, like I said, to have enough room in your budget so you're also able to spend on wants. But it's important to keep a balance between the two and not overspend on your wants. All right, so let's look at what the numbers look like for UCLA students. So, expenses can be also can also be categorized as fixed versus variable. So tuition, for instance, is a fixed expense. So you cannot change the total amount, and if you're an in-state student, this is what the price tag looks like. For the academic year. Whereas if you're out of state, you would also have to pay an extra $29,754. But even though the amount is fixed, you can change who is paying. So essentially, you can determine what your income sources look like, and you can also change when you pay. Essentially, what I mean by that is that we have something called a Bruin payment plan, and if you opt for that plan, you can, instead of paying your fees in a quarterly basis, you can pay it on a monthly basis. And if you want to enroll for that, you would have to enroll for it every quarter. So 3 times during the year, you would have to enroll for the Bruin payment plan. All right, so we looked at tuition. Let's look at room and board. So if you want to live on the Hill, or you want to look at these are the 2 options for that UCLA housing provides, basically. So there's the Hill, and there are university apartments. So for the Hill, you pay $16,000 for the academic year, whereas for the apartments, it's close to $16,000. Let's look at the Hill. So these are the amenities that are included. You get a meal plan. There's basic cable service included. There's internet access. There are study lounges, computer labs. You get to participate in various social events that take place. And of course, it's all very close to campus. So campus is easily accessible. The classic residence hall is the most affordable option. And then apartments can be on campus. So this would come under UCLA housing, and also off campus. So so this would be you looking for an apartment for yourself. So on campus. So this is what the price looks like. And you can find all of this information on UCLA Housing's website. So our utilities included, you get basic cable and internet, in addition to gas, water, and electricity. You do have to cook on your own, so you want to budget for that. And then how and when do you pay? You can opt for 3 different plans. So there's a monthly plan, there's a quarterly plan, so you pay every quarter, and also you can pay in full at one go. And then if you want to look for a place by yourself, here we give you a few options for how to do that. So there is, if you go on the community housing website, you can, and I try to see if I can find that link and put it in the chat.
I can put it in the chat, Metzli.
Okay, well, I actually found it, so I can. Okay. So I just put the link for the community housing website. It gives you a lot of helpful resources on how to look for apartments by yourself. West Side Rentals is another good option. There are various Facebook groups, and you'll actually find these Facebook groups on the community housing website. You can also look at company offices. So these are property management companies, and their websites usually have rental listings as well. So that's another good place to look. So when you do look for your own place, you want to these are some of the questions you want to ask. You want to ask when rent is due, and see if it works with your particular situation. You want to figure out if utilities are included as well. And then how much does it cost? So this gives you an idea of how much apartments cost in various different localities in LA. So the most expensive neighborhoods near campus, these are the places that are near campus, but they cost a little more. And then if you share it among 2 people, it goes down, of course. And then there are also other less expensive neighborhoods near campus. Well, actually, I'll show you the map on the next slide. That's going to help. But this is what the price tag looks like for apartments in various localities in LA. Okay, so this is what I was trying to say. So here, this is where UCLA is, Westwood. So as you can see, the localities near UCLA are a little pricier. So darker the color, the more expensive. Whereas if you go further away, the prices are a little lower. And this is from 2019. So while the prices may have changed a little bit, but the pattern is similar. So they would have changed in a similar, changed uniformly. So you would still see a similar pattern. And this is from Zumper.com, by the way. Okay, Metzli.
Okay, hi everyone. So I will be continuing on the presentation. Now we're going to talk about ways that you can increase your income. If you are, budgeting and in the meantime seeing that you would just like to make more money, there are definitely options as a student or how you can go about that. And one of the cool things about UCLA and also other UCs is that you have access to Handshake, which is a really great resource and especially tailored towards students who go to that school. So whatever Handshake website a student has at their campus is dedicated, and those people who are like the employers on that site are looking for those students at that university. So all the posts on Handshake are with the intention of wanting UCLA students to apply to those jobs. And Handshake is super cool because it's a variety of things. They have tutoring options, they have internship options, research opportunities. And then there's also a different variety of jobs that you can find on campus. And we have job fairs, and ASUCLA has like a huge job fair looking for students to work on campus. So that's definitely just like a simple, easy way to kind of start your search process for trying to make some extra income. Then we can go on to the next slide. Cool. So other things like we were just previously talking about, that you can save money in certain areas that are variable costs and are really dependent on how you go about it. One of the big ones, as we all know, is food. I don't know about you, but I love food. So sometimes I want to spend a little bit more on food because it's really fun, but it's definitely really important to balance and be conscious of how much and how often you are going out to get food, right? So as you can see here, that we just put some images together that kind of show on average how much you're spending depending on the type of food or how you're feeding yourself, right? So if you are grocery shopping every week and meal prepping, on average, that'll cost between $2 to $6 per meal. And then you see that the next level up would be, eating at more fast food, cheaper options, but not cooking it yourself would be on average between $6 to $12 a meal. And then if you are going out to restaurants, nicer places where you have to leave tips, where you have to sometimes pay for like even a water bottle, things like that, that will definitely increase the amount, and taxes big time increases the amount you'll spend per meal. And on average, those meals can be between $18 to $30. So this is definitely something that you can be more conscious about if you tend to see yourself spending a lot of time going out to eat, although it's fun and we are college students and that's totally okay to do. You just want to be more conscious about it and think about maybe I can make breakfasts every week and make lunches every week, but then once in a while I'll go out for dinner if that's something you want to do with friends, right? So this is definitely a way. Food is definitely variable cost and something that you can really consider changing if it is that you're seeing you're spending a lot of money on it. Some really cool things that if you didn't already know, if you get a Ralph's card, that can save you a lot of money. And since we have a Ralph's near UCLA, it's an easy way to take advantage of deals while shopping. I usually get discounts on my groceries. Also, this is kind of like a funny tip, but you shouldn't go shopping hungry, because if you go shopping for your groceries while you're hungry, you're probably and more prone to buy a lot more things because you're kind of just like in the moment thinking about it. So definitely go when you are ready, maybe eat. That would help a little bit. And then also it's really important to go into a grocery store with a list already ready and have it, and so that you don't stray away from what you came to get. A lot of the times we see that we go into a store and then we're like, oh, like that looks really good, but that wasn't part of the plan. you can give yourself the leeway of like getting one thing maybe that you just want for yourself, but you don't want to shop too much into the aisles because that's where people get lost and caught up in all the different options. And then you went for just milk and eggs, but you end up coming up with like 10 other things. So definitely going in with the list might help you just be more aware and stay on the path of getting what you came to get. So yeah, and with that, can we go on to the next slide? And just as an example of some way that you can see how much money you might be spending on food when you're going out, there's something called the Latte Effect. And so for this, you know, sometimes we spend money on things every day that we don't necessarily need, but we just like and we enjoy. But some of us do need coffee. So this might not be a perfect example. This might be a controversial one, but for example, let's say for myself, I don't drink coffee every day, but in high school, all my friends would go to the coffee shop after school every day. So I would go for fun and just like buy coffee with them because it was just like what everyone did. But then if you actually look at the breakdown of how much you're spending on coffee, or if it's tea, or if it's boba, whatever it is, let's say I spend $4.85 on a drink every day. That comes out to about $33.95 a week. And then if you actually calculate that for a year, that comes out to almost $2,000, right under at $1,765 that you could have saved if you didn't spend that much money every single day. So definitely, like I said, maybe coffee is essential for you, but other things like boba, I know that's a really popular thing in Westwood, or going out for just like a cookie like at Dee Ree's, like, yes, you can do that, you know, every so often, but if you actually look at these numbers, you can definitely be saving so much money if you didn't do it every day. And starting to cut those things out might be really helpful. Just spending a few less dollars can really save you thousands of dollars at the end of the day. That could be invested or saved, you know, for the future. And then on the next slide, if you are struggling with, you know, your financing, like things related to food, there are some really cool resources at UCLA that I'm really grateful for that I learned about my freshman year. One of those is the CPO food closet. So in the Student Activity Center on campus, which is right near the middle of like those large like Jan steps, in that building, there's the food closet, and basically it's open from like 10 to 3 p.m. every day. And they have food. They have like a whole little room, a closet with food in it. Some of it is like things that you can take home and like cook. So like I've taken like cans for myself to like cook later in the day. Or they also have like snacks if you're on your way to class and you're hungry, or you didn't have a chance to eat lunch or something. They have some really good snacks. Like sometimes they have pretty cool things in there, and you can just take for later on. So if you're someone who just wants to pass by, you'll see like this little line where people are waiting to go in. You can take as much as you feel is necessary for yourself. It's there every day. It's super cool. So I highly recommend you just check it out. Just stop by and pass by and see what they have if you ever are hungry or want those canned items. Those are less popular. And if you're interested in cooking, you could definitely take those home with you for later on in the day. Another one is the 580 Cafe. And at this cafe, they give out free meals to students. So you can definitely check that out. I haven't checked it out myself, but I've heard really good things about it. We also have the UCLA meal vouchers. So if you do qualify with what the requirements and eligibility requirements are, you can get meal vouchers. And if you don't know what meal vouchers are, it's basically like a little certificate thing where it equals a certain amount of money, and you can go exchange that at like Ackerman, where they sell like Panda or Veggie Grill, and you can use that to fund the food, which is really cool because you get those meals in exchange for those vouchers that you have. So definitely check out if you do qualify. Those are super helpful. Especially if you're like on campus and you don't have time to cook. If you do qualify for those can save you a lot of time and money. Another one, which I have right now, is CalFresh. This one is basically, if you're familiar with like EBT, it's like a government funded like system where you get money every month to support for your groceries. So students can get up to around $200. You can apply with your roommate as well. Or roommates, and y'all can get more money when you have more people, if you're like supporting one another and cooking together. So this is a really amazing resource, especially if you're living in like apartments or off campus. You can get money to fund your groceries. So if you have not already done that, I highly suggest you even try to apply. They have CalFresh hours all the time, office hours, where you can just check out, see if you're eligible. That has saved me so much money. So definitely check that out if you haven't already. And same thing along the lines of like CPO also has gift cards that they give out every quarter, which is super helpful. And they're like $100 gift cards. So those are really helpful too. That'll save, you know, a week's worth of your groceries, 2 weeks, maybe, depending on how much, who you're shopping for. But definitely checking out, you know, your campus and seeing what food opportunities or gift cards are out there. And then of course there's other like websites and places where you can also find food resources, even as simple as like Facebook pages on Facebook. If you literally like Google like free food, sometimes they have on campus like places that they're trying to get rid of food. I know they used to do this thing on the Hill when there was leftover food in the dining halls. They would give it away like every Thursday for people who brought their own containers and then can take it to go, which is super useful because they weren't, you know, they were gonna waste the food anyway. So instead they gave it away to people who, you know, didn't have like a meal plan or were still hungry. So definitely check out those resources. And a lot of these have saved me a lot of money for sure. We can go on to the next one. Cool. Another common area that people can save a lot of money on is books and supplies. I feel like this number, when you go into UCLA, kind of scares you because the average that they say, like UCLA says that you're going to spend on books and supplies every year is like 1,400 in total, somewhere around there. Which I can tell you now, as a fourth year, that's not the case every year. I know my first year, sadly, I bought 10 books for one class and I bought them all on the spot. I was just like, okay, I need to buy this. I had no idea that there were other alternatives in buying and saving a lot more money for these things. So there are things where you can, instead of like buying the actual textbook, you can rent it. You can also buy it from people who have already used it. Some students like to sell them, especially if you were to use Bruin Walk, like to check like professors. Bruin Walk also, people like students will comment like, hey, I'm selling my textbook from this year. You can buy them and contact those students. You can rent it, you know, from places like Chegg or return it on Amazon. And then a super more common thing that a lot of people are doing is sharing PDFs with one another of the different versions of books or textbooks that you need for classes. So if you're already, you know, if you join GroupMe's, which are really popular at UCLA for like your classes, a lot of people already find textbooks online and can share those so that you don't spend money, because sometimes they're really expensive. And that's an easy way to just avoid spending hundreds of dollars on books every quarter. So there's been years now where, I mean, I spend less than $100 on books, you know, throughout the whole year. So definitely be more conscious of that. Other things related to like books and supplies in general. You can also rent a laptop if you don't already have one. That's an option for sure as part of the CLICC program at the library. And they have that if you just want to rent those things, or if your computer like breaks and you don't want to pay for repair in that moment and it's too much for you, you can use that in the meantime. And then simple things and ways you can save money for still things related to this is using Google Docs instead of like purchasing like the Microsoft or other software that will save you some costs. Also being conscious of when there's like back to school sales, which can save you for like school supplies. You can get Amazon Prime for students for 6 months for free. And that saves you, you know, the benefits of getting, you know, your items for 6 months, like very quickly. And so make sure to cancel the after 6 months if you don't want to pay. So just put like a reminder or something once that time's up. I did that and it was very useful. But yeah, and then we'll go on to the next one to talk about printing. Okay, we're gonna get through this a little quicker, but for printing, there are also, I do not have a printer and I do not recommend people have a printer unless they really need to print a lot of things for their classes. But there are so many free resources on campus where you can also use things that you don't need to pay for the printing, or it's much cheaper. The Hill has options for students who are living there. The Student Activity Center, the same place with the food closet, gives you, I think, like 75 to 100 pages per quarter for free. So definitely take advantage of that. That's for all students. And then also, depending on what your major is, some departments will have free printing services for their students. If you're part of like social sciences or if you're part of public affairs, they have those options. And then we can go on to the next one. And I think this one just kind of goes a little more in depth into what I was just sharing. Yeah, so different kiosks, depending on your majors, have some options. And also the LGBTQ Center in SAC offers like 10 free pages every day or something like that. So just check in the organizations or clubs you're a part of or departments, you definitely probably have some options available there. So you're not spending, even if it's a little bit, right? Like in printing, saving that money for other things. Cool. Cool. And so transportation is another thing that is super popular. Obviously, we live in LA, so this is sometimes necessary, but you have two options. You have either if you have a car or public transportation. So we'll first focus on if you have a car, what you might have to consider. So definitely there's a lot more things you need to consider if you do have a car. You need to look for parking, which I will say is very difficult at UCLA. You have to first apply to get like a parking permit or for free around the apartments, and that's sometimes difficult and unreliable. But if it's necessary, you know, that's the free option, just looking for parking every week and making sure you're moving your car to avoid the parking tickets. That's a huge thing. Also your car payments, car insurance, gas, right? Those are all things you need to consider. And this is just a breakdown, which you can find online, the different permit types that UCLA offers if you do get a parking permit. And then the other option for transportation is public transportation. So there are a lot of different things, walking yourself to places. There's also CSO escort service, which they basically help students who would like someone to walk with them. Or also if it's really late at night and you don't feel comfortable walking alone and you don't want to like spend money on an Uber, they are working those hours to be there and just support with that. There's also bike options. We have like a whole bike shop at UCLA that I feel like no one talks about, but it's an option. And if you're interested in that, although we have hills, you can bike around the hills if that's something that you want to do. And then there's also bus option, which we'll talk about next. This is a popular one at UCLA. There's a lot of, obviously we have like the turnaround at UCLA that all the buses kind of come through. There's the Bruin bus, which is for free, the Metro, and then also the Blue bus, and they vary in cost, but they're also a cheaper option in comparison to cars. There's also CPO offers an evening van service for free if you live within a 10-mile radius every Monday through Thursday. And yeah, and then the Metro, I think should be free. Some of them are still free. Some of them are, I think, starting to, like the Metro trains are starting, you do have to pay for them again. But nonetheless, they are a cheaper option than, let's say, a car. But if you don't want to take the bus, there's also the other option of share rides, which we'll go to the next slide. So that's like, you know, Uber, Lyft, the scooters, wheels, stuff like that. I see people using, those are really fun. But these are sometimes expensive options. But if this is like the option that you're more comfortable with and you don't really ride maybe as frequently, you don't need like a car every day, but only so often, this might be something that you're interested in doing. I would definitely say have Uber and Lyft because sometimes one is cheaper than the other. So comparing your prices to see where you can save money is also super helpful. And then there's also Zipcar option. If it is something that you do kind of need access to a car more frequently, then that's an option for you. Cool. And then another way and super important thing that we're not going to talk about in depth because this is about budgeting, but credit. You do want to start building your credit. You can apply for a credit card through your bank or your credit card company. And just some general tips, because we're not going in depth into this, is to make sure that you use your credit card sparingly. You don't want to like overuse it. A lot of times college students just get a credit card so they can start to build their credit. You just want to make sure to pay off the balance in full at the end of every month so you don't end up paying more in the long run. And it's definitely a good idea to start building this credit history in college if you can and feel like you can manage that, but you just need to be smart about it and have a plan. So definitely recommend, if you want to talk more about credit, you can visit our hours one-on-one through appointment or talk to us afterwards about this, but this is definitely something that you can start. Cool, and then we'll go into health insurance. Yep, health insurance. So if you, UCLA offers like a UC-ship like program where basically that's like your health insurance at UCLA. It's an automatic cost on like your tuition and fees. So if you don't pay for tuition and fees, I personally wouldn't recommend to opt out of it because you're not going to get the money back. It's just like an offer there. So it's like you either take it or you don't if it's paid for. But if you want to waive out of it because you are paying for this tuition and cost, like you are paying for your tuition and fees at UCLA, then you do have the option to opt out if you already have, let's say, health insurance outside of school or through your parents. You do want to waive that so that you're not spending too much money with double the insurance. And if you do choose to waive it, you can also still visit the Ash Center. It'll just be higher prices, but if in an emergency, you can still have access to that if necessary. And then the next slide just kind of talks about CAPS, which is another resource for that we have on campus in regards to counseling. This, if you have UC SHIP, also includes some really cool opportunities to get counseling there that I would definitely take advantage. But if you don't and you do waive UC SHIP, you can still, like I said, take advantage of it, but you will have to pay for that counseling. Cool. And then we'll go into cell phones. This is a more, I feel like, quick one we could run through, just because a lot of the times I find that college students are like part of a family plan still. So I know I am. So if you're part of like a plan, you don't need to worry about that. That's nice. Take advantage of that if you can in the meantime. But for people who aren't part of a family plan or are paying for your own, independent smartphone, you can really consider and think about the cool thing is you have free Wi-Fi on campus. So you won't need as much data, or you can use other texting apps that'll save that data or Wi-Fi to send messages, right? Like GroupMe, iMessage, WhatsApp, like those things will save you money if you're not trying to use like a lot of data. So this is also an area that you can start to consider how you can budget better if you are paying independently. Okay, cool. And then this is the fun, like self-care variables. This is definitely applicable to college students. So going straight into it, as college students, we like to go out, but sometimes it's expensive. So you just want to take into consideration and be, like I said, conscious of how many times a week you are going out to more expensive things, right? To things like concerts, the movies, fancy dinners, that definitely are the higher end of spending versus things that you can access for free on campus that are still fun things you can do. So there's a balance to it, right? Like there's like Resflix where like there's basically the same thing as going to the movies except for free. You could bring your own popcorn instead of paying like $10 for popcorn at the movie theater. So definitely just considering your options and balancing it out. There's also options to have fun outdoors. If you like hiking, going outside, exploring outdoors, stuff like that. And then UCLA and like especially like the dorms and even like university apartments, they host events all year long where they provide free food, they have like giveaways, activities, ways to meet new students. So definitely take advantage of those things as well. That can also save you a lot of money. And then clothing is a variable. This is a hard one for sure for me, but thinking about how much you're spending on things like expensive clothes versus more affordable options, name brand things, right? Like there are different options like thrifting. I really enjoy thrifting. These are some of the examples of different popular thrift places or stores that people often visit. So that's something that you can consider maybe saving a little bit more money on, which later on there will be a list that you can see of like 10 years like thrift stores at UCLA. We're running out of time though, so I am going to run through this. This is just something to consider. Think about the cost per wear when you are spending on clothes. So sometimes things are more expensive upfront, but they'll last much longer. Just like this jacket that is $120, but might last you 6 years, and you wear much more often, right? Like 4 times a week for 20 weeks, and that ends up coming out to 25 cents per wear. Whereas maybe a really cute like mini skirt that you get will cost $30 and will only last you a year. You only wear maybe once in a while. And that cost of wear will be more expensive. So just taking into consideration, this is also where you can save money. That sometimes you have to make the investment more upfront, but can be in the long run much better for you to invest in. And then the next slide is that list that I was talking about top 10 thrift stores around UCLA. So if you want to take a quick picture, this is a really fun activity or thing you can do sometime to go shopping. I love thrifting, super cool options nearby. Cool. And then the last things are just in regards also along the lines of entertainment. Dating, of course, is a thing. And so if you're looking for affordable date night options, there are lots of cool things. A lot of people tend to not know about this, but there's a free planetarium show on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. on campus every week. Super fun. I've been to it. You got to get there super early, but it's really cool because it's free for UCLA students, or also people come from outside of UCLA, but it's a really cool, cute planetarium show that you can go. DD Reese is really much more affordable than other places, pretty cheap, like cookies and ice cream. And then the next slide, a student a while ago from Financial Wellness put together like some options, top 20 affordable date ideas for college students, which is super cool. You can even do this with friends, and different things that are, are enjoyable, that are affordable and nearby, UCLA. So if you want to take a picture of that as well, that is pretty cool. I've used that list. Cool. And then we'll just move on. We're literally finishing up. Saving. This is something also when budgeting you want to consider. You want to pay yourself first. So definitely if you do have a job or whatever income you have, if you get a refund from school, it's important to also invest in yourself and not just like spend outwardly, but you can also do something where you can try to direct deposit part of your paycheck or automatically transfer some money to your savings account every month, so that you're just not touching it. You don't have to feel tempted to use it. But budgeting to save now will pay off in the future. It'll mean that you'll have a lot more money for retirement, investing, things like that. So definitely considering at least portion of what you're making to come back to you and save. Cool. And then I think, yeah, these are just things like everything we talked about. You just want to consider, because also after college, you will need to think about this once you graduate: rent, credit cards, debt, transportation, living, food, utilities, investing, things, right? All these things, health, that you do and need to deal with after college. So budgeting now is really going to pay off for these things that you need to think about after college. And with that, I think we are done. Cool. Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
That was great. I mean, I think, I love that the whole, budgeting aspect of it, the whole about the paying yourself, for sure. I think that's something that I wish somebody would have told me when I was, back in the 1900s going to college, and, as a first gen student, just not knowing all these different things, I think it's so important. It's so important to understand that in some ways, of course, some things are not in our control, but in some ways, some things are, and we just, it's important to get all this information. I mean, it's, investing, all those different things that, sometimes we're not aware of because no one in our family is doing it, right? I think that's, that's why it's important to understand these different options. And if you're able to do them, that to really try to ensure that, you are investing. That part of your budget, as you mentioned, that is investing on your future, right? Is investing in that, that what you're going to be able to do later on. And I know that when I first got my first job out of college, I was just like, what am I going to spend my money on? And definitely, just, I think for me, this is why it's important to have you folks come and talk about this, because it is something that's important to do. So again, I want to say thank you for joining us and sharing the wisdom that you have, that financial wellness that will hopefully continue to impact not only yourself, but as you are building that legacy, you're also building that legacy for those who are coming after you as well. So truly important to have this information. Thank you. Let me also, I'm going to share the evaluation link. If you please don't mind completing that evaluation as well. And, again, if we can show either through the reactions or in the chat, if you can please just say thank you to our guests. Thank you so much. Let me see this.
Thank you so much. And while Santi does that, I know that Sanjali and Matsui do have to get going, but I can stick around for a few minutes. If you all have any questions pertaining to the presentation, I can do my best to try and answer them.
Thank you again. Let's see. Yeah, so let's do that first. Let's make sure that if there's any questions that you may have, anything that you that you hear that maybe you need more explanation, or any inquiries you may have, just let's take advantage of the fact that we are here with someone who's been in a number of organizations assisting folks ensuring that, you know, that financial wellness as well. So. Do you have any questions? And if either Sophie or Laura or one of the peer advisors, because I cannot see the right now the chat.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Who was talking? I didn't mean to cut somebody off.
It was me. I just had one question because somebody told me, for example, the semester and certainly things had to be paid in advance. So just to have an idea the how much money I have to have in order to do that. Can someone give me any idea?
Do you mean for, I heard the word master's. Is it a specific?
No, for undergraduate.
Oh, for undergrad.
Yeah, my question is, somebody told me that, for example, when I think it was a counselor that told me that when you go to the school, for example, let's say UCLA accept me as a transfer student, and I want to go there. He told me that certain things they have to be paid in advance when you say I gonna go.
Very good question for our financial aid department. So this happens a lot, but we do get mistaken for financial aid. But at financial wellness, we don't deal with like grants and scholarships. We just inform students about it. What I can do is I can put that website for you where you might get your answer in the group chat.
Yeah, and I can somewhat answer that, you know, Aurora. Just so I think you're asking that, you know, some things you have to pay in advance, like for example, maybe the fees, or maybe your if you're living at the residence halls, you may have to like pay a certain amount, you know, maybe at the deposit that you need to put down. And there are certain things that yes, but there are also payment plans that you can work out with whichever office, you know, whether it's the housing office, whether it's the raiser's office, and they know that students, particular students who are receiving financial aid, may not get all that funding, you know, upfront. For example, if you are receiving work study, they'll know that, you know, of course you will have to work and then get that funding. So you may read, yes, this needs to be upfront, but there's also payment plans, and I think definitely through a lot of the or students who have you know, just advocated for more ways for students to be able to pay. That has definitely been the trend. I want to say in the last 10 years here at UCLA and most of the UC campus, that, you know, they're not necessarily going to expect that you are going to have to pay everything up front. There are certain things that they will definitely work with you in terms of a plan. I hope that answers the question somewhat.
Yes, that answered my question. Thank you so much. Because when the consultant told me, no, sir, you have to pay this upfront, and say, no, I don't have that kind of money.
No, and I do remember, you know, like I said, I went to school back in the 1900s. It kind of was like that. I mean, it was so, you know, I think for us, you know, we're definitely, I mean, I can tell you that from none of myself, but plenty of my friends, it was a little traumatizing at that point. But you know, I think the institution is becoming much more receptive to all the different type of students that we're accepting. And I think that's, you know, that's a good thing. And again, it is because advocacy from students like yourselves that those things have changed.
Thank you, Santi. Thank you.
Sure, Aurora.
Really quick, I put in the chat box the Bruin Pay Plan website. So there it gives you lots of information that maybe are applicable to your situation. But like I said, the department to reach out to would be financial aid, just in case you have a more detailed question that is specific to your circumstances.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And, I think as a lot of information was being shared, definitely we understand that not all of us have the same situation. Some of us, are definitely blessed to have either, or families or just being able to be at a place where we're comfortably enough to be able to, pay for what we need to pay for, right? And we also understand that some of you, I mean, I come across so many transfer students who are doing amazing things in very hard circumstances. So, that's why we try to provide you with this type of information. That's why we provide you with the, with as many resources as we can, because, we want to make sure that all of you the reality is that money shouldn't be an obstacle for you to get a great education. That really shouldn't be, right? But, that's not where we are. And we're trying to mitigate that and ensure that, that you are able to access resources, and we will continue to try to provide opportunities in where you can, not have to worry about money, and just be able to enjoy what an education at UCLA or at any other institution can offer you, right? So that's definitely our goal as well. But I also want to say that, whenever you want to splurge on yourself, that's also good too. You have to be good to yourself. I know all of you have, work hard, and so when you're able to just have one of those little simple joys, or not so simple, whichever, however you do it, please reward yourself. I think that's also important too. That's also, part of that wellness, right? Or joy is part of that wellness as well. So, I just want to kind of remind us of that as well. I mean, definitely not all of us are in the same situation, but if you're able to, reward yourself. You deserve it for sure. Let's see, what else can I say? Let's see. The only other thing, let me just put that screen again just to make sure that you complete the evaluation. And also, I wanted to let you know that we have opened the application for our next year cohort. So if you are not transferring this year and you want to return and get some more of the CCCP love, then you're more than welcome to fill out the application as a returning scholar. You will receive priority in coming back. And, we want to make sure that we're with you throughout the whole journey, whether that was 1 year or that's going to take you as many years as you need to do, that's perfectly fine. So I'm going to share that again for the evaluation, and also for just so you know that we have opened the application for next year. If there's any student who is new here today, who is joining us for the first time, please visit our website. We will be listing informational webinars that we'll be hosting very soon. And we're just looking forward to walking along with you in this journey as you come to any university, even that university, private, that's across town, that's even more expensive than this one. Even if you want that school, we will, we're here to assist you in the process of transferring to any school, and really we really want you to ensure that you're seriously considering all the options of institutions. And again, I know that money can be a challenge, but you just never know. I mean, I know students who have applied to private schools who actually ended up paying less than by coming to UCLA. So definitely want to say that too, even though, we all know that UCLA is the best school. So, but all right. Let's see, any other questions, anything else? I know there was a few folks who may said that they may have some questions, maybe not about this, but some other things. I know that some of you who have applied are, anxiously awaiting the responses. And I don't know if any of our full-time staff also or peer advisors have any additional information, anything they want to share. So I'm going to give that space also for them as well. That's right, Salvador. All right, let's see what else. No, I probably should stop.